Okay, so once again, welcome to my YouTube channel, Rizal Delightful Lessons, and we are ready for a new video lesson today. And we will focus on to the editorial. We all know that editorial is the opinion page of any newspaper. Last meeting we discussed all about the types of editorial. We have the editorial of information, editorial of criticism, editorial of commendation, editorial of special occasion, and the editorial of interpretation. So, for our next activity is to identify the correct type of editorial in each item. So, take note of the distinction of each kind of editorial. As an additional reminder, you can pause the video in order for you to think of the correct type of editorial in each item. That is before knowing the correct answer. Okay, so let's an agreement. For number 1, it contains of a new memorandum issued by the Department of Education or DepEd. Is it editorial of criticism, editorial of special occasion, editorial of interpretation, or editorial of commendation? Alright, the correct answer is editorial of interpretation. So, the editorial staff will interpret the memorandum issued by the Department of Education or DepEd. Let's proceed to the next item. Editorial written after the commemoration of the day of birth of Jose P. Rizal. Is it editorial of interpretation, editorial of special occasion, editorial of information, or editorial of criticism? Okay, the correct answer is editorial of special occasion. So, our clue there is the birthday or the day of birth of Jose P. Rizal. It's a special occasion, right? So that is editorial of special occasion. Let's proceed to the third item. It could be written after the school community pulled together in helping the victims of fire in the area. Is it editorial of special occasion, editorial of information, editorial of interpretation, or editorial of commendation? That's right. The correct answer is editorial of commendation. So we are praising and we are commending the school community for their help for the victims of fire in the area. Therefore, that is one way of praising the school community because of what they did to the victims of fire. So that is editorial of commendation. So, let's proceed to the fourth item. The editorial contains topic on the Department of Education's most essential learning competencies or MELCS. Is it editorial of special occasion, editorial of information, editorial of interpretation, or editorial of commendation? You're correct. It's editorial of information. So our clue there is the topic on the Departments of Education's most essential learning competencies or MELCS because we are, or most of us, for example, before it was written, we are still unfamiliar with this topic, MELCS. MELCS because we are in the Department of Education. We are using the K to 12 curriculum guide. But since of the pandemic, we have this one MELCS, or the most essential learning competencies, or MELCS. That's why the editorial will give us information about this kind of guide. Now let's proceed to the last item. It is written after an administration decision which the editorial staff disagrees. Editorial of information, editorial of interpretation, editorial of criticism, editorial of commendation. You are indeed correct. It's editorial of criticism because you look at the editorial staff disagrees. So the staff or the editorial staff are disagreeing to the decision. So they are criticizing, they are giving their criticism, the critique on to the decision of the administration. So that is under the editorial of criticism. So that concludes our activity on the types of editorial, and I hope you got all our items today. So remember that there are 5 types of editorial. We have editorial of information, editorial of criticism, editorial of commendation, editorial of special occasion, and of course the editorial of interpretation. So you should know the distinctions of each type. As an additional challenge, if you have newspapers at home, may it be new or old, you can go to the editorial page and then read it, then identify the type of editorial. So once again, thank you very much for your cooperation, and I hope you learned more about editorial for this video. Thank you very much, and till the next video. Bye, Teacher Reese.